A few years back, I was watching some friends play a five-a-side game in a park. There was no ref, no scoreboard, and barely any sense that this needed to be taken seriously. A couple of them had normal trainers on. Someone had used cones from a shopping bag to make the goals. Most of the game had that scrappy, improvised feel those matches usually have. People laughed when a pass went wrong. One guy stopped in the middle to tie his laces. Nobody looked all that bothered about who was winning. Then another player turned up. You probably know the type straight away. He's got shin pads, proper boots, and some watch tracking every movement. Before he even joins in, he's stretching like this is a warm-up before kickoff at an actual ground. Once he gets involved, he starts calling for the ball sharply, shouting instructions, getting annoyed at missed passes. Somebody tries to take a man on instead of laying it off, and he throws his hands up like they've made some ridiculous decision. Technically, none of that is wrong. Taken one by one, those things all make sense. Wanting the ball makes sense. Asking for better passes makes sense. Caring about how the game is played makes sense. Trying hard by itself is not some awful thing. Still, the whole mood changes the second that kind of person arrives. Suddenly people are apologizing for mistakes nobody cared about 5 minutes earlier. A player who was messing around before now looks a bit tense. Someone stops trying risky passes because they can't be bothered getting shouted at again. The laughing dies down. Everything gets a bit quieter. At first, the easy answer is just that this person is annoying, too intense, too competitive, maybe a bit full of themselves. Honestly, that explanation feels fine for about 10 seconds. After that, you start realizing it misses the actual point. The shift is not really about whether the person is likable. It's about the standard they bring into the game. Before they got there, everyone was working under this unspoken agreement. The point of the game was to have a run around, enjoy it, maybe try a bit, but not treat it like a performance review. Effort was there, obviously, just within a relaxed range. Nobody expected perfect positioning or serious discipline. Then, this new player starts acting like the whole point is performance. That's where the problem starts, because standards spread fast. Once one person behaves as if the level has gone up, everyone else has to decide what they're doing about it. Either you match that seriousness, or you risk looking like the only one who doesn't care. Straight away, normal things start getting reinterpreted. If you laugh after messing up, now it can look like you're not bothered. If you jog back instead of sprinting, now it looks lazy. If you play a casual pass, now it looks sloppy. Nothing physical has changed. Same park, same mates, same cones on the grass. What changes is the meaning of effort. One person has quietly redrawn the line for what counts as caring, and everyone else feels it even if nobody says it out loud. That dynamic shows up in loads of places outside football as well. Maybe you've seen it in group chats when one person starts sending these long, polished messages and suddenly everyone else feels a bit cheap replying with one line. Sometimes it happens at work when one colleague starts answering emails at midnight. You get it in seminars too, where one student treats every comment like they're delivering a mini lecture. Again, the awkward bit is that the behavior itself can look admirable. They seem prepared, serious, engaged. On paper, those are good qualities, so why does it still make people feel weird? Usually it's because everyone senses what comes next before they can even explain it. Other people start adjusting. Replies get longer. Emails drift later into the night. Students begin preparing more carefully because they don't want to sound flat next to the person doing the most. Nobody agreed to any of this. There was no meeting, no announcement, no vote. The standard just moved anyway. Economists have a term for that kind of thing. They call it positional competition. Basically, the value of what you do depends partly on what everyone else is doing around you. If every student studies 3 hours, that looks responsible. Once one of them starts doing 10, those same 3 hours suddenly look weak. The effort hasn't changed, but its meaning has. That's why tryhards create such a strange reaction. On their own, they can look admirable. Discipline is admirable. Commitment is admirable. Work ethic is admirable. By itself, that frame is too narrow though. Most things people do are not happening in isolation. They're happening inside a group, inside shared expectations, inside these fragile little social agreements about what normal effort looks like. When someone makes their effort much more visible and much more intense, they're not only changing their own experience, they're moving the reference point for everyone else as well. Once that point shifts, everyone has to respond, including the people who never wanted the change in the first place. That, to me, is the deeper issue. A lot of try-hard people probably think they're improving things, They think they're raising the standard. In some situations, maybe they are. In a competitive environment, that can genuinely help. Casual settings are different. Very often, the original standard in those places was not low by accident, it was a compromise. People had, without ever saying it properly, settled on a level that protected something more delicate. Reason, because now everything feels loaded. Somewhere in the middle, there's a sweet spot. What the tryhard often does is crush that middle ground without meaning to. The football game stops feeling like a kickabout and starts feeling like a test. The seminar stops feeling like a discussion and starts feeling like a competition. The hobby stops feeling playful and starts feeling like a place where you have to prove something. When that happens, people change. It's that effort in group settings has weight to it. Once one person pushes it up hard enough, everybody else starts sliding in that direction, whether they wanted to or not. That's why that park game felt different. Nothing in the actual rules had changed. The cones were still there. The sun was still going down behind the trees. It was still just friends in a public park having a kickabout. Even so, the whole character of the game shifted, not because football demanded it, because one person changed the standard for what it meant to care.